All right, in the world of sports, Senegal's Sadio Mane has suffered an injury less than 2 weeks before the World Cup after limping off during Bayern Munich's Bundesliga clash with Werder Bremen. The Senegal forward was substituted in the 21st minute at the Allianz Arena on Tuesday, having received treatment on the pitch and subsequently signaled to the bench he could not continue. Mane was involved in Bayern's opening goal, which was scored by Jamal Musiala, but his substitution will concern his country, Senegal. And their World Cup opener against the Netherlands is on the 21st of November, giving Mane little time to recover from any issue. All right, from there, let's talk about the Bundesliga results. Matches played yesterday. Of course, it was Bayern Munich getting a victory over Werder Bremen, 6-1. And for Wolfsburg, defeated Borussia Dortmund 2-0. Bochum beat Borussia Mönchengladbach by 2-1. And VfB Stuttgart defeated Hertha Berlin by 2-1. In the EFL Cup games that played yesterday, Leicester City were on fire as they defeated Newport County by 3-0. There was also a big win for Bournemouth, defeating Everton by 4-1. And Bristol City lost to Lincoln by 3-1, while Burnley defeated Crawley Town by 3-1. And to the Spanish La Liga, Barcelona had to come from a goal down in the La Liga to earn a victory against the opponent Osasuna, and that game ended 2-1, with Barcelona finishing that game with 10 men. Real Valladolid away from home lost to Athletic Bilbao 3-0, and Girona lost to Elche by 2-1. Switching over to Italy now, talking about the Italia Serie A. Empoli lost to Napoli by 2-0. Spezia and Udinese played out a 1-1 draw, while it was 1-1 between AC Milan and Cremonese. All right, moving on from there now, let's talk about what's going to happen in a couple of days' time. That is at the World Cup, and teams are preparing for the tournament as Ecuador will keep their place at the 2022 tournament after the Court of Arbitration for Sport ruled in their favor on Tuesday, following attempts from Chile and Peru to have them thrown out of the tournament. Chile and Peru appealed to FIFA after discovering Ecuador had used ineligible right-back Byron Castillo in their successful qualification campaign. Now, FIFA dismissed all charges in June and again in September when fresh evidence came to light, but Chile and Peru took the case to CAS with a further appeal. However, the hearing on the 4th and 5th of November adjudged that no violation of the rules on eligibility has occurred, leaving Ecuador free to compete in Qatar later this month. For Ecuador, they will, however, be deducted 3 points in qualifying for the 2026 tournament after being found to have used false information to obtain a passport for a Colombian-born player. The South American nation, who faced host Qatar in the opening game of the tournament on the 20th of November, must also pay a fine of 100,000 Swiss francs. From there, let's go straight to Namibia as the league football is returning amidst concern of wrangling between officials and fears the length of absence has harmed the game in the country. A lengthy and damaging power tussle between the Namibia Football Association and the professional league affiliate, the Namibia Premier League, at the end of the 2018-2019 campaign following a dispute about relegation had led to the 3-year break. The first tentative steps in the new division were taken between African Stars and University of Namibia, where there was an appreciative crowd, with the rest of the first-round fixtures scheduled for this weekend. And to the world of Formula One now, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has said that Max Verstappen's perfect 2022 campaign is the most dominant he has seen during his time in the Formula One. For Verstappen, he retained his world title with 4 races to spare by emerging victorious at last month's Japanese Grand Prix, and he has since posted wins in the United States and, of course, in Mexico. The Dutchman broke Formula One's single-season wins record, previously shared with Michael Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel at the Mexican Grand Prix, securing his 14th race victory of 2022. And that's a wrap on Sports Update on Breakfast Central. And we look forward to a lot more stories happening right here on Breakfast Central. I am Udoka and Jocko. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Olive.
Good morning, Udoka.
Good morning, Udoka.
Yeah. Very, very sad story there to see what's happened to Sadio Mane.
Sadio Mane, yeah.
It's a scare. We're not certain yet. There's been no confirmation, right?
Yes, no confirmation.
All right, so we're just going to wait for the X-ray results and hope that is not something that would prevent him from making it to the World Cup.
To the World Cup. And I'm sure very soon, I'm sure before the end of this week, we'll see the team list for other teams. Senegal dropped their list yesterday, and he sure will make it to the World Cup, but we just need to know that he will recover in time to play the first game or the second game for Senegal. I mean, this is something we've been talking about for quite a while now. We knew this was going to happen. Players would get injured. Fatigue would set in for the World Cup.
There's not enough recovery time.
Yeah, and after the World Cup, it gets worse because they get back to their footballing ways in their different leagues, and they will also get tired because it's quite different playing team football for your country and also playing club football for whichever league you get to feature in. So it's quite a difficult time for these players. I remember when Real Madrid played in the Spanish La Liga where they lost to Rayo Vallecano, the commentator said the coach, that's Carlo Ancelotti, told his players, he asked them in the dressing room, do you guys want to have enough time to play on the football pitch, or do you want to rest on the bench knowing that we have just 2 more games before the World Cup kicks off? And we saw how Real Madrid played that game. Benzema was not there. For Vinicius Jr., he did try his best, but of course he was also being careful not to get injured because these players want to play at the World Cup. And they lost that game 3-2. So you can tell it is telling on these players. And I'm sure this weekend in the EPL and other leagues, we will also see players being careful not to get injured before the World Cup.
Well, hopefully, let's hope that they do not get injured, because how careful can you be?
Exactly.
Especially when it has to do with football. I mean, take a look at Tottenham's Heung-min Son. He was just going after, trying to contest with the ball, and all of a sudden, he's out. You look at Paul Pogba, he's out. You look at Kante, he's out. You look at so many players we can mention.
Yeah.
And
I think Lukaku as well.
you have all these players, so many of them. But then again, people are faulting, a lot of persons are faulting the fact that the World Cup is happening now.
Yes.
It shouldn't be now. That's a question. But we hope for the best for Sadio Mane. Thank
I
you
mean,
so
beyond
much.
this, we hope that they can take feedback and ensure that this doesn't repeat itself again at the next World Cup, because it's not looking good for our players.
I know the World Cup also has been surrounded with a lot of controversies from human rights over there in Qatar, to the players complaining, to the clubs not being able to complete the season. It's just a whole lot of topsy-turvy.
And big one, Udoka, let me also come in there. Don't forget that as well, Sepp Blatter, who was a former FIFA henchman, came out to say it was an error.
Exactly.
It was erroneously awarded to Qatar.
And he said he washed his hands off the selection of Qatar. He never supported Qatar hosting the World Cup. But of course, it is here to stay. We'll get to see the tournament happen in a couple of days' time. About next week, the World Cup kicks off, and team lists are still being released. And we're looking forward to what the 3 Lions will release, because a lot of pundits are also talking about England, saying if this guy doesn't select some certain players, then they will fail at the World Cup.
Anyway, I wish England well. I'm not putting too much interest in
And Ghana as well, going through a lot of crisis, because earlier today I heard a couple of journalists over there in Ghana calling the Ghana Football Association officials, calling them scam. So I'll dig more into this story, and of course, we'll surely bring it to light.
Anyway, thank you so much, Udoka and Joku, for the updates.